thanks for tuning in. I wanted to remind you of our Road to 1,000 Subscribers giveaway that we have going on our YouTube channel. If you subscribe and have a public profile, you'll be entered to win a free RX Smart Gear original jump rope. You'll get to pick the pattern of the handles, the color and weight of the cable, and you'll be getting one of the best-selling, best-performing jump ropes out there. Every time we hit a new century mark with the number of subscribers to our channel, we'll randomly select a new winner. And our friend Dave Newman is going to throw in a little something extra for each winner. So a special thanks to our sponsor, RX Smart Gear, to Dave Newman for being such a great partner, and to you for being a loyal listener. Good luck, and I hope you are our next winner.
Okay, can we talk about the most delicious protein bars ever made? Bearbells. These are caramel cashew. These are my go-to. They're my favorite. They have 20 grams of protein, no added sugar. The macros are phenomenal, like 200 calories, less than a handful of grams of sugar in the whole bar. Did I say 20 grams of protein? Yeah. They are delicious, like a treat. Can't believe that the macros are the way they are and that the nutrients are what they are, because they taste like a candy bar. And I know my candy bars pretty well. I'm like a Snickers type of person. There's no aftertaste. They have so many flavors to choose from. If you're not a fan of the caramel cashew, they've got salty peanut. They have a hazelnut nougat. They've got a chocolate dough, a crispy fudge, cookies and cream. What am I missing? White chocolate almond. They're all delicious. I like all of them, but check them out at bearbells.com. Try some for yourself. You won't be sorry. They're delicious. Totally awesome.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Clydesdale Fitness and Friends. My name is Scott Schweitzer. I am the Clydesdale and I am your host. We love to do fitness and these are my friends. I have my co-host Kat with me, as well as a very special friend, Emily Rolfe, CrossFit Games Athlete, medical professional, and just all around badass.
Well, thank you.
So we're going to start with just kind of where you grew up. I know you live in Canada now. Where did you grow up in Canada?
So I grew up, I'm in Vancouver now, right on the West Coast. And I grew up in a little town about 4 hours interior to Vancouver called Kamloops. About 80,000 people there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's much bigger than the little town I grew up in.
Yeah,
but
I guess I can't really call it a little town, but yeah, moved to Vancouver for school and never went back.
Okay. And what was it like growing up there?
It was great. I mean, it was I'd say Kamloops is like very outdoorsy. So we did a lot of like hiking, mountain biking, skiing. There's like 3 ski hills there. So lots of outdoors sports growing up.
And did you do any organized sports as well?
I did gymnastics. That was my main. Yeah, I was a competitive gymnast all the way up until I was retired, quote, at 22. So I did it that's pretty old for a gymnast.
And you were national level gymnast?
Yeah.
And you're 5'7".
I am, yeah. So I grew, it's a funny story. I grew when I quit. So when I was 22, I shot up. Growth spurt after. Because everyone's like, oh, you're really tall, but yeah.
Yeah, because when I was doing the research, I was like, she's really tall for a gymnast.
Yeah, I was stunted, I think.
So how tall were you when you did gymnastics?
Oh, I don't even know. I was still tall for a gymnast, probably like 5'3"-ish, which is still like, if you're over 5 feet, you're like, okay, you're a bit of a giant, but.
Yeah. So a 4-inch growth spurt after at 22, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Would you attribute that to like maybe some nutrition issues and things? Were you sort of forced to keep your weight down? Were you getting your period, like all that kind of normal stuff, or?
Yeah, a little bit. Like I wouldn't say, well, I wouldn't say I had an eating disorder. Maybe I'm denial, but you're right. Like a lot of the coaches, especially when we go travel, it was very like, I remember like sneaking out to the vending machine and try like, cause they were all like, don't eat too much because you're going to be too heavy. You're not going to be able to flip around kind of thing. No sugar, no fat. I remember they used to say that. So yeah, probably a little bit. I definitely didn't eat enough. I know that for a fact. For training 5 hours a day, every day, definitely I'm not eating enough. And again, like, yeah, no period. Like I say, 22, that that's when that came to.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
grew up as a ballerina, so it's similar experience with the food and, no periods or irregular periods and all that kind of
Okay,
stuff.
yeah,
So,
same thing.
yeah,
But yeah, same thing. Like you kind of want to be tiny, right? You
exactly.
can't be chunky doing that.
Right.
So what was it like? So were you on the national team, or just what does national level mean?
So yeah, I know Canada, it's a bit different. And now they've changed it again. So now we're like the same as the US. So we go level 1 to 10 and then you're elite. But that's changed since I've been out. So national level was pretty much like level 10 elite, kind of on that border. So I would like compete at nationals, I'd compete internationally, but I was not ever named to the national team.
Okay.
Mhm.
Well, that's still pretty darn good at a very high level. So you're not so you're used to the big stage like that you see now in CrossFit and the big audiences because you've competed at that level. So then when did you go to college?
So throughout gymnastics, actually, because 22, right? Like it was the end of when I got my degree, I stopped. So I kind of wanted to I was pursuing kind of a scholarship in the US because that was kind of the big thing to do after everyone like went to the US. But I don't know, the girls that went didn't come back with an education, and I kind of wanted to get something. I didn't want to just go and just do school to pass the time kind of thing. I wanted to get my science degree. So I stayed and I competed. I continued to compete with my club. And yeah, I think it was a good choice for me.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
you must have been a good student then.
Pardon
You must
me?
have been a good student. I assume you were a good student.
I was a good student.
Yeah.
I felt like I didn't have enough time to do my courses and train all the time. So my priority definitely went to gymnastics. But I got through as a B plus student.
And so you ended up being a radiation technologist.
Yes.
Is that a degree, or did you do something different that kind of led to that?
So it's a 2-year diploma on top of my science degree. So I got my Bachelor of Science. The plan was to do med or physio or something related. I did apply into physio, couldn't get in. Super competitive here. Yeah, if you're a B plus student, that's not good enough. I thought my gymnastics would kind of show that I'm well-rounded, but when competing against people with GPAs of almost a 4, it's very competitive. So yeah, I knew I still wanted to work in the medical field. Didn't want to do nursing because I didn't want to work 12-hour shifts. So yeah.
And so what was that inspiration to work in the medical field?
No inspiration. Both my parents are teachers. I don't know. Didn't know that I cut out for it till I did it.
Yeah. So I have to ask, we just went through COVID. You were on the front lines of that, working in a hospital with all of that happening. What kind of precautions did you have to go through to be able to do your job?
Just wearing the PPE. So gowning up, goggles, face shields, N95s, gloves, a lot more sanitizing and washing everything in between patients. That's all you really can do. I mean, now we have our vaccine, so we're a little bit more comfortable, I guess you could say. But yeah, before that, I was just like, ooh.
And you kind of got to see the effects firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
Because of what you do, and that there's like CT scans and X-rays, you could actually see inside the people's lungs that were being affected by COVID. And what was that experience like?
Yeah, crazy. You hear, okay, this patient's COVID positive, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, here we go. And then I work more in CT now, so I get the really sick patients. Yeah, and you can just see it all over the lungs, just like crap. Just and you can really tell, like, ooh, that's a COVID lung.
And the whole time you're training and trying to stay fit, and you're seeing all this going around you, and you're seeing the effects. How did that affect you mentally?
It didn't affect my training at all, but there was a couple times I was like, okay, if I get this, because there were a couple nurses at our hospital, like medical professionals get it too, right? Like there's nobody's immune. I just thought, man, if I I think that would sideline me for probably the year. Like when you think of recovery and then trying to return as an elite athlete, like they still don't know the lasting effects, right? So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, I was
It's
kinda like,
interesting though
yeah.
that you as an elite athlete and someone who's in great shape, that you don't want to get it because you might not be able to compete. And it's not that worry of you don't want to get it because you might die.
Yeah.
Right? Which is just kind of a blessing to think about. And it's interesting that I know my son, he's an athlete and he was afraid to get it just because he didn't want to lose 20 pounds. Like he's on this weight gaining thing and he's like, Mom, if I get COVID, I'm gonna lose 20 pounds. I don't want to do that. Like I can't
Yeah, well, he's not
afford to do
training
it.
for 2 weeks and then he's
Right.
coming back from it. Who knows how long that takes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like it's a very privileged place to be too, because of all the work that you've put in and the fitness that you've put in your body. So it's kind of cool.
But then on the other hand, like I'm training so hard that my immunity is probably not as high as you'd think in a healthy person, right? Because my body's just trying to recover from all these what I put it through. That I got to be careful there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a crazy thought. So where's Canada today with COVID? I know that they were pretty shut down not that long ago.
So the east side is still like that. They're pretty locked down still. We're better in the west. Just restaurants we can't sit in, but other than that, we're on the upswing, I think.
So you can go to the gym, you can get your workouts in pretty easily.
Yeah, gyms are open. Movie theaters aren't. Some like random things aren't, but gyms are open. So.
And you can do both Metcons and weightlifting in your gym now.
Yes.
Like that was the thing before.
Yeah,
right?
that was a thing. Yeah.
Or you could only do weightlifting because I guess with Metcons you spew too much.
You're spewing too much.
I don't know. I spew a lot when I weightlift too. So.
And then I have my home gym too. So, yeah, I'm able to work out throughout, which I've been lucky.
Well, that's actually a perfect segue because you're kind of famous for working out in a parking garage.
Yeah, I know. And we just moved.
Right.
Bad thing. I was like, oh, my parking stall. But now we have a double car garage. So I'm just, it hasn't made its official social media debut yet, but I'm just like painting the walls and I want to make it nice. And there's no cars. I told my husband as soon as we moved in, like cars are going out on the street. This will be a full gym. And he's like, okay.
So congratulations on the new home. I did see on social media that you guys bought a new home and that's got to be so exciting.
It is, especially in Vancouver. Like, I don't know if you know that house prices it's psycho. The market's like, it's crazy. So we were very lucky.
And are you still living close to where you were, like close to all the stuff that you've been doing?
Yeah, like 800 meters down the road.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's close.
So when you were working out in the parking garage, like that had to be a weird experience at first. And I'm sure you got comfortable with it at some point, but people are driving by, people are coming to the cars and you're out there doing a Metcon. Did anybody say anything or weird comments?
Oh yeah. People like at the start, people are like, what? Like just rubbernecking it as they drive by. I'm like, okay, pay attention where you're driving. Like, well, yeah, like I understand it's a weird, who else, when do you see that kind of thing? It first started out, we just bought a squat rack and I was like, oh good, I can do like my morning squat kind of strength workout at home. Especially if I'm working all day, like I'm driving to the gym is going to take time. Like I just get that workout done. And then we started adding to it. And then I got another bar and a bench and like put the rubber matting down, just like had a whole bunch of stuff there. And then I started doing more workouts there. And I was basically like, okay, anything except something that involving a wall ball and a muscle up, I can pretty much do in the garage. So like, why am I driving to the gym? So I started doing more and more. And like, so of course I'm like going ham, like doing a Metcon or something. People are driving by like, what?
Did you have to do was it the Rogue Invitational that you did in that site?
I did do it. I didn't qualify for it. Well, I did, but then I got penalized, so it dropped me down. So I didn't actually, like, I wasn't in the competition, unfortunately.
Okay, I feel like I've seen footage of you, like serious footage of maybe qualification stuff,
Yep.
you know,
And I
videos in
did
the garage.
the Loud and Live had like the trials. It was an online comp.
That's
in
what it was.
Vancouver.
That's what it was. Yeah,
So-
because I did the video review for that. That's what I
Okay.
remember seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up winning that, but most of the workouts, and they were made for that, right? Because people were stuck at home. So they
Yep.
you need a dumbbell, skipping rope. They were awesome. Like enough room to do a burpee basically. And so I did most of those at home, which it was great, but yeah, you really gotta focus
I was
on
gonna say it must be stressful if like someone's walking by or, you know,
And I
someone's
was
going to
using
their car.
Yeah, I was using my neighbors too for one of them for skipping, I think. So I was like, he better not come home. It was like a 20-minute workout.
Right.
So I was just praying. If he came home at like the 18-minute mark, I'd be like, sorry, buddy, like you gotta wait.
Right. I would love to see like what hand signals you're giving him to be like, stop, you know,
Yeah.
I'm not stopping.
That and the silence. Because
Yeah.
I didn't want to have like AirPods in or earphones because I wanted to hear my judge count. So
Sure.
it was just kind of silent. But whatever,
Mhm.
I'm used to that too. So
What a strange experience, right? Once in a
So-
lifetime.
I have to ask about the emissions of the cars, like in your lungs. Did that affect you at all?
no, you know what? I thought of that, and that was my mom's big concern when she saw that I had this. She's like, "Oh, you don't want to be breathing that stuff in." But that parking garage is actually you know how some of them smell like of fumes and stuff. You don't smell anything. They've got these giant vents like along the walls that just like flush in air. Like it was the most like aerated parking stall I've ever been in. Like you'd never even know you were in. It was great.
It's
Perfect
it's
setup.
it's such a cool thing to be famous for.
I didn't even like it started out as just like this is a good way to get my workout done. Like I wasn't doing it so people would be like, oh, that's different, you know. And then with Strata, I was like, are they gonna allow this? Like, and then
Yeah.
Kyle was like, oh, let's just put it up. Like we'll deal with it if we get a complaint. But they never said anything.
Yeah, better to ask for forgiveness than permission.
Totally.
Got it.
So you've moved into your new house. What's the best part of being a homeowner?
Well, we own the other house too, so the townhouse. But I would say, I don't know. I honestly like the garage is pretty good. I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're pretty one track training, and have a nice place to do that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emily, do you have any pets?
No.
Okay, is that on the list of things to do now that you have maybe a little bit of yard and
I think that'll be my first child. I have a plant right now, so we'll see how that goes, and then if I do well with that.
awesome.
We're both frontline workers, so we're both kind of shift work, like in and out. So, like with a dog or something, it'd be hard. I don't want to leave a dog home all
You
day.
just have to get two, that's all. Just have to get two.
Other friends, yeah,
They
maybe.
keep
Never
each
thought of
other
that.
company. That's how that works.
Cat has 27,
I
so
have
don't listen to her.
three. I have three.
So I want to talk a little bit about nutrition. I did some research and you had talked about some different things that you were doing to help you with your performance through nutrition. And so what are you working on now?
I wouldn't say I'm working on anything. I have a nutritionist. So she, the company's called Married to My Macros. They were based in Vancouver, and now they've relocated to Australia. Because one of the owners was Australian, so I guess he didn't like it in Vancouver, so they switched over. Don't blame them, but so yeah, she basically, I meet with her once every few weeks and let her know how my training's changed, and she'll adjust my macros accordingly. Mostly, I'm pretty much like a 15-year-old teenage boy. I'm just eating as much as I can.
Awesome.
Yeah, my carbs are very, very, very high, and yeah, just getting the calories in. I'm eating probably about 33,200 a day, and like clean, legit calories. So it's a lot of food.
Wow. Yeah, I just recently started tracking macros and all of that stuff. And so you are so busy, like working in the medical field and training 4 or 5 hours a day. Is it hard to get that food in?
Not really. I'm never one to be like, oh, I have to eat this. I'm like, what can I eat next? Like, give me all the food. Um, it is hard to pack. Like, I come to work literally with like a small cooler, and my coworkers are always like you're here for 8 hours. Like, you've packed for like 2 days, and I'm like, no. Like, so I'm kind of always eating there. I mean, if we're super busy, that's the only hard thing. I might go without eating for like, I'll say, sounds really bad, like 3 or 4 hours. And then I'm like, huh, like I need something. But yeah, usually I can sneak out and fill my face for a bit. So that's okay.
Do you have
Yeah.
like a go-to carbohydrate, like at the end of the day when you need to get like another 100 grams in or something? Are you like a bagel person or a chocolate milk?
Usually it's I'll make some dessert oatmeal. So
Okay.
oatmeal, chocolate protein powder, and then peanut butter. That's
Awesome.
like my favorite nightly snack.
That's good. I had that last night before bed.
It's so good.
It
And
is.
it keeps you full, keeps you satiated. Because if I'm working like, oops, sorry, there's my alarm. If I'm working like an evening shift they go till 12:30, so just after midnight, I'll usually, if I have dinner at 7, like I'll need something else. So that's perfect. Perfect 10 o'clock snack.
You also talk a lot in this one article I saw about mindset and how important that is to being an athlete, and almost as important as your physical attributes. Can you explain that a little bit?
Yeah, so I started working with a mental coach when I made the games the first time in 2019. Just kind of fell upon him. Like, it was kind of a weird, my husband met him and he was wearing it like the typical CrossFit shirt. And so of course they started talking, and it turns out this is what he does. And so he was like, I'll help you if you want. And I was kind of like, oh, like, I don't really need you kind of thing. And but I agreed to it. And yeah, it's been a blessing. Like, he's been super helpful. I wouldn't consider myself, because gymnastics, like, you kind of had to be mentally on it, or else like you're on a 4-inch beam flipping. Like, if that one little thing of doubt in your head, like, you're going to fall off. Like, so you kind of had to learn to be switched on a bit. But yeah, I kind of just was able to build upon that mental strength that I had from that sport and use it in a different sport. It's been really helpful.
So did you have him as you were entering the games that first year?
Yeah, so I worked with him probably a month out, maybe
Leading
6
up to
weeks
it.
out from that
Okay.
games. And then he actually came with my coaching crew to the games that year.
We're going to take a short break from our interview to tell you about our newest sponsor, Up Before You Coffee. They are an amazing coffee. It is delicious, has different little notes of chocolate and things like that. And it's really clean and crisp when you drink it in the morning. But they have a light roast. They also have a medium roast, as you can see there. We are so excited about this sponsorship. If you use Clydesdale20, all caps, Clydesdale20, you can get 20% off your order. Just go to upbeforeyou.com and order your coffee. It's delicious. You'll love it. So how did you transition from gymnastics to CrossFit? What was that like? What happened there?
Yeah, so again, my husband, he's to credit for, and now he's like, CrossFit, like, that's all you ever do. He was a personal trainer before his job now, and he was at a CrossFit competition, like, I don't know how, and I had to come help him. So I was watching these girls, and he's kind of like, you should try, like, you'd be really good at this. And I was kind of like, I don't know if a lot of people look at CrossFit and they're like, nah, I'm not doing that. I don't know if you guys felt that too, but so I was very resistant-y for a bit. It's kind of like, no, like, I'm not doing that. Like, you see them doing like handstand push-up, like, why are they bouncing off their head, or why are they like, you're kind of like, and then, so of course, typical story, I tried a class and yeah, loved it. Kind kind of felt like I was doing gymnastics again. I think that was the big draw because I'd been out of gymnastics for a couple of years at that point, and just kind of global gym working out. I did do track and field, so I compete in pole vault. So after that, I was kind of like not competing in anything. And I think I still had like the fire, like I still want to compete in something. And yeah, it really felt like gymnastics, like swinging from the rings or the bar. Like I had my calluses again, like I was using chalk. Yeah.
Yeah, I had a little bit different experience just because my next door neighbor was a CrossFit affiliate owner. And he actually, so when I started, I was over 500 pounds, and he worked with me at the house. So I didn't know I was doing CrossFit for 6 months until he took me to the gym.
Oh, okay. You were doing like circuit kind of short break kind of things.
Yeah, I was doing kettlebell swings with a propane tank.
Yeah. Wow. Good for you.
Yeah. So that's how I got introduced. So I didn't have that moment of like, nah, I don't want to do that. Although my first workout was Murph when I went to the gym.
Oh. Jeez, they're lucky you came back.
Yeah, right? I know. I almost didn't stay for the workout.
Yeah, the warm up was enough. Wow.
Yeah. So
yeah, my first workout was Helen. So the 3 rounds of 21 kettlebell swings, 12 pull up, and a run, I think.
Yeah.
So at that point, like I was so used to doing so much that I was like, that was it. Like, and they were like, class is over. And I was like, and I went home and I think I went for another run and like, probably like, yeah, I was very used to doing a lot of volume. So that came naturally.
So you retired from gymnastics at 22. Mm-hmm. It was a couple years before you found CrossFit. Now that you're in the sport, do you wish you would have found it sooner? Because you kind of got a later start than most athletes.
Yeah, definitely. Like looking at the teenagers now, like the girls that are doing it, they're 17, like Emma Carey, she's going to be 17 this year. And I'm like, man, if I did it at that age, like, yeah, that would be super cool. But I think there's something to be said of a lot of us were elite gymnasts, and the base that we built, I think that is helpful. My dad was an Olympic lifting coach, so I learned to lift when I was like 10.
Oh, wow.
So kind of I had the building blocks at that age. I just wasn't doing full out CrossFit. I think that helped. And then we'll see. I mean, yeah, those girls are beasts now. We'll see. Hopefully they can hang on. Hopefully their bodies hold on. Like, who knows? Maybe by the time they're 25, they're going to be done.
Yeah. Because they're really the first generation to come through growing up CrossFitting and not something else in converting.
Yeah. So I hope they don't burn out, but yeah, if they don't, they're such a head start. It's awesome.
Yeah. So 2018, you make regionals.
Back to regionals. 2017, I made regionals.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
First
and
time.
then that's your first like move into the elite CrossFit area and kind of doing some things there. When did you realize that you had a shot to be at the games and be an elite athlete?
I think that year. I finished 9th at regionals, so top 5 made the games, and like I don't want to say I wasn't trying to make the games. Of course, that's the goal when you go to regionals, but I think being my first regionals, I was so happy to have made it there, and I just wanted like do my best and have a good showing. And then I surprised myself and I like walked away and I was like, wow, like 4 spots away my first year. Maybe it's possible I can go to the games. And then 2018, I had a bit of a setback and didn't even make regionals. So that was quite devastating at the time, quite disappointing.
And then the season changes altogether.
And then the season, yeah, that year was hard. I acquired an infection at work in my hand. I had quite a bad cellulitis during the open of that year. So my hand was swollen out to here, like just an elephant hand. So I kind of struggled through the open and yeah. And then I didn't make regionals. I was close. So it was it hurt, but yeah. And then 2019, didn't even do the open. because that year you could qualify to the games from the open. And I decided, no, I'm going to train through the open and then hit a sanctional and try to qualify there. And that's what I did. And looking back, I'm like, whoa, that was a risk. Like, but at the time, it was my coach and I thought that was the best shot.
Well, you won Granite Games that year.
I did, yeah. So,
that's a great event. What was that like, actually winning a major competition?
Yeah, that was my first, sanctional. That was the first sanctional that I won. So yeah, and that was the first year sanctionals were going on, right? So it was kind of a new thing, but yeah, it was cool. I think from then on, I was like, okay, like maybe I can not just go to the games, but make a bit of a splash.
And you went in 19 and you did make a splash because you actually won an event.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The ruck run, the dreaded ruck run.
Well, we only had 20 minutes to dread it from the time it was in, so it wasn't that bad. I knew I would. I've always been a good runner. I was the kid that won all those cross country runs in elementary, and so I knew I'd do well. But I knew like Sam Briggs, Kristen Holtz, like I knew they would be up there too because they're engine athletes. And I did think the bag would have dragged me down more than it did. Honestly, like each time we loaded the weight, because it went from 20 pounds, 30, 40, 50 each lap, 1.5 km lap, I think it was. Didn't really feel, maybe I was just so in the zone, such adrenaline rush. I didn't even feel it get heavier. Like just load it up. Okay, go. Like it wasn't like the 50 was like, oh man, now it was like, felt the same every single time.
I think the best part of that, watching that as a spectator, was how fast everybody tried to get the ruck off after they past the finish line.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then didn't you weren't you supposed to like keep track of your ruck so they could examine it after? And there were just piles of them everywhere.
That was, and then, like Matt Fraser's fell out. Like, so I don't know if his bag was short at the end. Like, I don't remember what lap that was, but of course I threw mine off like, woohoo, I won. Like, they're like, oh, you have to stick around for the interview. So I stayed there. Who knows where my bag went. So at the end, I just picked up another one and then they're checking them. And I was like, oh man, like, wouldn't that be,
yeah.
Oh, you're missing a bag. Like, luckily it was fine. But yeah, so I've learned next time when they tell you, keep an eye on your own bag.
Yeah.
You do that.
Did you suffer any kind of a rash on your back from the bag like everybody else did?
Yep. So those 2 marks right on the lower back. I
Yeah.
think I still have a little bit of trophy
Scars.
scars. Yeah, that was the most
That's
painful
unpleasant.
shower I've had in my life. That was awful.
And I think that was a very unintended, consequence of that workout. I don't think it was thought out too much. Those bags, those rucks are not made to hold little tiny things.
Yeah, dumping against your back. I mean, during the run, of course, I felt nothing.
Sure.
I did have an ice bath after. They have those giant bins, so I don't know what kind of bacteria was getting in there then.
Right.
But yeah, it was painful to clean it out for sure. Worth it though.
Yeah.
Well,
So
awesome.
where do you have the trophy?
It's still packed up in a box. It was on display, but then we moved it. I don't know where half the things are now.
Yeah. Will it go in the garage gym now?
That's a good idea. Yeah, good idea. Let's put it in there.
Little motivation.
Yeah.
And so so then 2020 comes and you have one of the most back and forth miserable experiences being an athlete in the history of being an athlete, where you made the games, then you didn't make the games, then you made them, then you didn't. You talk about mindset. You had to get that mindset dialed in for that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I go to Wadapalooza in February last year. So I get the games ticket. Everything's super great. Go celebrate in Disney World. Come back right into training again because I'm doing 2 other sanctionals like in the next 2 weeks. Atlas Games and West Coast. I'd signed up for them all. Looking back, I'm like, what am I thinking? But I was like, oh, the more chances, the better. So yeah, I go to Atlas. We go to Atlas in 2 weeks later. That's like the March 15th weekend that everything shut down in Canada. So we're having the athlete briefing like the night before the comp, and they're like waiting on the announcement. So we're all kind of just sitting there waiting, and then they were like, yeah, we're not running. We can't run this competition. So we're like, okay, great. We traveled all the way here. But honestly, like I was pretty exhausted still from the hype of Wodapalooza and I had already got my ticket. So I was like, it's okay. Like trained with some of the boys the next day, had a good session, and then we flew home early. Wasn't too bothered. Canceled my flight to West Coast. I think for some of the girls that were banking on those competitions to get their tickets, like it was quite upsetting, which understandable. But at the time, like everything was shutting down, like the airport was eerie, like quiet. I was kind of just happy. We were both happy to get home because we knew we had to continue working. So yeah, I thought that's fine. I'll keep training for the games, like whatever. Train till like May, June. Then they announced that they're cutting to the top 30. So that would make Amanda Barnhart get my ticket that I got at Wodapalooza because she would have got cut from the open selection. So now I'm waiting on like one other person to get through the open so that Amanda goes back and then I get that spot. So I was like, very probable it could happen. So got to keep training for the games. And yeah, you're right. It's basically back and forth. And then with them like canceling the games and like, oh, moving them. And then, are they happening? Are they not? Oh, we'll do them in September. Like it was kind of like, okay, well, I can either just take a risk and be like, okay, let's just take a break, finish the year kind of thing. Or I can keep training for the games. And then if it happens, if I get called, like I'm ready. So that's what we chose to do. Because I thought the alternative, well, what if they call and then I'm not ready and they say, actually, you're going. And I'm like, oh, well, now I'm not in shape kind of thing. So it was hard to kind of stay mentally in it. But at the same time, I was like, I want to be ready. And this training that I'm doing is not for nothing. Like it's going to benefit me for next year anyways. So
yeah.
I think
and you ended up doing all of the phase 1 games workouts.
Yeah. So by the time that all got figured out, I figured, well, I may as well do them all. Like I've trained. So yeah, we just set it up the weekend at the gym. Like I was competing. Everyone else was doing it from their gym too. So that was kind of, I didn't have too much FOMO, I guess. Yeah. And I just did them all.
So you don't have to tell us where, but did you look to see where you would have finished?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I can. So pretty much same as last year, 18th, 19th.
Okay.
Which honestly, I was quite, I was okay with because the workouts I felt were not like, I looked at all of them and there was nothing like, boom, that one's great for me. Like they were all kind of like, oh, like, and then to finish in that area, I was kind of like, okay, without all the hype. And honestly, by that point I was pretty drained and exhausted. So yeah, it was all right.
So I want to pivot to something else, and that is the All In series. So season 3, you get asked to join the All In, which I think is one of the best things I've ever watched on YouTube. How did that come about?
Yeah, so I don't know if they wanted a girl or what their reasoning was, but so they call me up, the producers, and they're like, hey, have you seen this? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it. Like, I don't think I'm that, like Brent and Pat are pretty funny. Like they're funny guys. And I was like, I don't know if but whatever, sure. Like looks fun. I'll do it. Got to know Brent a lot in Dubai the last year. And then Pat's really close to me now. So we train together sometimes. We did quarterfinals together. So I'm pretty close to Pat now. So yeah, I was like, those are two guys that I know really well. Like sure, why not? So, and the producers are funny too. They're kind of like, okay, we have this envisioned, and I'm like, what? Like their ideas are just out in left field, but it's just that kind of humor, I guess. I'm kind of glad, like this past episode, like I wasn't in that much, and that's fine because I liked it. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun regardless.
Yeah, I love the out of the box thinking of the producers. What whoever's envisioning this, Pat and Brent frolicking in the lake. I think I rolled on the floor laughing. So did you see any like returns on followers or any in popularity after you did that? Because that really, I mean, they're two pretty popular athletes. Now you're joining them in this movie.
Yeah, I guess I did. I don't really focus on my social media probably as much as I should. But yeah, it's cool.
Well, and you're trying to sustain a professional athlete's life, right? So that you can go to these events when you want to. And so that the more followers and the more likes and stuff you get, the better the sponsorships are.
Yeah.
And I know that you've gotten some new sponsors over the last year. So that's got to help with, buying a house and getting to train more and go to more events.
Yeah, it does. And I think like I don't have a huge following like a lot of the other athletes do, but what was I going to say about that? I was going to say something. I lost my train of thought. It'll come back.
Yeah, it's fine. And I know like Born Primitive came in within like the last year, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they approached me last year, which, yeah, they've been awesome. Oh yeah, I was going to say, sorry. I was going to say it's hard for me. Like I know a lot of people like to see workouts and like what I'm doing daily. And it's super hard when I have to work. My day is literally like, okay, I've got these 2 hours, then I'm going to eat, then I'm going to drive to the gym. That's another 20 minutes. Then I'm got this second session. Like it's literally like, so if I'm fiddling on my phone and videoing everything and like setting up my video at the gym, like sometimes I just got to get in there and just like hammer it out quick. And so yeah, I struggle with, it's hard to always get like content from my social media, I guess you could say. If I had a video like following me around all day, that'd be great. But
Right.
Yeah, I like the real content. I like when just you as a human. I don't need to see another workout video, but that's just me.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know. Because you're not getting another workout video.
Right. We want to see like, when you bring the puppy home, we want to see those posts and, that kind of stuff.
You'll see the puppy.
So the last question I have about the All In series, is there going to be a 4?
Ooh, I don't know. I would tell you if I knew, but I don't know. Like watching that last one, how Brent was like, okay, like we're doing it again. Like this is I don't know. I kind of got the vibe like they were, didn't you? That was kind of the end.
Well, I don't know if it's part of the shtick about, because they're kind of saying it's a curse, right? All the people that are in it get cut. And at the last, so last year you were in it, and then the back and forth before the games. And so they're playing this thing like it's a curse, and they've been cut ever since they've done them.
Yeah. Yeah, true. So maybe, I don't know. I'll let you know when I get the call from TELUS in January next year.
Yeah. So it's hard to tell if Brent's being serious or it's just part of the shtick.
That's true.
So that's why I asked.
On their yearly funding.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into this year's quarterfinals and the Open, and you did really well. You finished the quarterfinals in 19th in North America.
Yes.
With a pretty good showing across the board, I would say, pretty consistent. Front squat, maybe not your strength.
No, but considering that was actually pretty good. Like that was probably my most proud event to tell you. I know you look at you're like, oh, you're 11th, you're 15th, you're 300. No. So looking at that, but like personally, that was probably my proudest. If that was an event last year, that would have been detrimental. Like that probably would have put me out.
Wow.
So we've really worked hard on my strength in this past 6 months, I would say. Well, year, but I've been on a really tough program the last 6 months. And so, yeah, I was happy with that, actually.
Yeah. From an outsider, you can tell you're getting stronger. Like you just look stronger. And it's funny because like I go to Christy O'Connell's gym.
Okay.
And like she was most proud of her front squat, even though it wasn't, because there was so much improvement.
Yeah. And I think that, yeah, even though that's not, maybe from an outsider, that's not the highest place on the leaderboard, like to kind of hang at something that's not your strength at all is great. Because then if you can be fine there, then you can just capitalize on what you're good at. And
yeah.
Yeah.
The other damage control one she had was the wall ball row, but you didn't have a problem with that.
No, I was stoked for that one, like all week. But we ended doing that one, I think Saturday morning. And Pat and I were kind of like, oh, it was Friday and we'd done a workout that morning. And we were like, should we do it this afternoon? And we were kind of tired. Like our abs were super sore. I was like, let's just go home. Let's relax. Cause we stayed together at, like away from the gym. And so we decided to just chill out that night, went home, like ate, like did some recovery, mobilized and stuff, and then came back the next morning. And then I think the tension kind of grew and we kind of were back in the morning and we were like, oh man, like we should have done it last night kind of thing. We had to have it done by like 12. And it's kind of that workout where you're like, I know I'm not going to get stuck anywhere. Like it's just going to hurt. And I think going into those, you're kind of like, ooh, like I want to throw up already kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So what do you think of this year's format?
I think given the circumstance, it's the best case scenario, to be honest. And I think quarterfinals, like nobody knew what it was going to be like, but I would say they pulled it off pretty well. Like it was good. I like the idea that it was like a competition weekend. Like the open, you do one, you rest for a week, you do one, you know, I do better in live competition. So the more events you can kind of squeeze in a couple days is better for me. You know, do them pre-fatigued and then let's see where you are.
What was cool for me is at my gym, 9 people made quarterfinals. So everybody knew like Christy would make it. Yeah. But then those other 8 people and it became like a competition weekend at the gym where we got to cheer for everybody.
Yeah. And that was kind of, we did it. There was 3 of us, Pat Vellner, Adam Davidson, and me that did it at Adam's gym. So, I mean, the restrictions were kind of strict that we couldn't have a huge audience. But kind of people kind of snuck in and watched what they could. It was cool.
So are you excited about semis?
I am. Unfortunately, it'll probably be online. But, you know, we're used to it now and this is what it is. Well, I'll probably do it again with the boys. So it'll be a really good push. I mean, Pat especially, like he's one of the top, right? So if I'm doing workouts with him, and that's only going to help me. Do
you think it's going to be online because you're in Canada or because?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like you won't be able to travel out?
I don't think. I mean, we'll see, but I don't know. I think I could travel out. I think you guys will let us in, but it's the going back that it's like you got to stay in a hotel for 3 days. You got to quarantine there, and then you got to do your own quarantine. It's like I don't know if I can take a month off work to do that. So, yeah.
Right. That really stinks.
It would have been cool to go back to Granite Games, you know.
I was, that or West Coast. I really wanted to go. We'll see where they seed me. Maybe I'll have to.
Right.
Yeah, because Kat was telling me before we went live that Granite Games just put out volunteer
registration.
Link. So it looks like they're moving forward live.
Yeah, and the location is Minneapolis. So it looks like they're moving forward, which is cool.
Yeah, so I would love to compete live, but we'll see.
Well, we want to finish up with like a rapid fire.
Okay.
And so I'm going to let Kat lead that off.
Yeah. talking about your workouts, are you a pre-workout person or a coffee person?
Coffee, 100%.
Coffee. What do you put in your coffee?
I have a latte, so just milk.
Nice. Okay. And within your gymnastics career, did you have a favorite event?
Bars, uneven bars. Yeah.
It's always amazing to me that the first thing that you do to start your uneven bar routine is basically a muscle up, which is
Yeah.
like the hardest thing. The pinnacle of what the CrossFit is like the first thing you learn in gymnastics to do bars. You can't start
Yeah, that's like
unless
a
you can do a
basic.
muscle
You
up.
learn that when you're like 6 years old.
I wish I had.
So what was the most favorite competition you were ever in?
I would say the games, just because that's the pinnacle and it's all the hype. But man, Dubai's been awesome. Wadapalooza was awesome. Granite Games was awesome because I won. Like, there's been so many good ones.
Yeah, winning is fun. Speaking of fun, who's funnier, Brent or Pat?
Pat.
Okay.
The
If,
footloose dancing through the woods in that all in.
I know. And they were okay. They videoed with me like the day or two before, and then they were gonna go to Pat for that. And he had Rogue that weekend, and he was like, it was a stress fest weekend for him because he had Rogue. They were like moving, like they moved house like that week, and his wedding just got canceled because like COVID. So he was like not, and they were like, oh man, like I hope he does this dance. Like they were like, I hope he wins Rogue so that he will be happy and then he'll be relieved and that he can do this. Like that's all they cared about is if he could do the dance or not. So then he won Rogue and then he was able to dance.
Oh my goodness. That's great. Emily, you don't have a shoe deal right now, do you?
A what?
A shoe sponsor?
I don't. I've gotten
Okay.
Nike's been pretty good sending me some stuff, but
Okay. So pick your favorite shoe and tell me what color it would be if you got to design your own. The Emily Rolfe shoe.
It would be bright pink, hot pink for sure.
Hot pink.
Yeah.
A Metcon?
Yeah, Metcon. Hot pink Metcon with some like maybe gold.
Pink and gold.
Some gold
Very
flare.
cool.
So what is the craziest story from working in the hospital?
The craziest story. I don't know. I would just say things that are more funny, not so much life-threatening. Just like what people get stuck inside their bodies. You'd be and then you're like, well, how did that get in there? Like, which end did it get through? Like things like that. You're like, how? And there's always like one.
What kind of things?
Oh, like things that I don't even know. Like,
Are we talking like Barbie dolls? Light bulbs?
yeah, like coins, of course, like dildos, like just lots of. I think people don't realize that here's your medical lesson of the day. Your anus is a vacuum, so if something goes in a little bit, like it's gonna suck in. So
Wow.
you be careful.
Okay.
Good to know.
Good to know.
It's a vacuum. Yes.
Oh, I don't know where we go from there, but I'm going to ask you.
I'm just so glad I asked the question.
What's your favorite Born Primitive product?
Definitely the go-to leggings or the bras. Like that's all I wear now.
All the bras are great. My daughter steals all of mine. And I find them in her drawers after a while because they're so comfortable.
I can see. How old is she?
She is 15.
Okay. And they're pretty too. They're not just
They're
like
cute.
comfort. Yeah, they're pretty.
Yeah. Rowing or biking or skiing?
Oh, all three.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
running is your favorite, right?
I love the machines. Anything that's a workout with the machines.
Okay. I'm making peace with my rower these days lately. I've been rowing a lot, so
There you go.
see what happens.
So what's your favorite lift?
Snatch.
Yeah. And I think we covered the last one. We're talking about the all-in. Will there be a fourth installment? I hope so.
Nobody knows.
Yeah, I hope so too. Well, Emily, this was a blast.
It's fun.
You're so fun. And gosh, I did not think we would get an answer like that for the craziest thing at a hospital, but I am so glad I asked that question.
Thanks
All
for
right, and
having
when
me on, you guys.
When you get the dog, when you get the puppy, we want you back.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure that plant lives and then move to the dog.
Okay. What do you think? Like, how long till I decide I'm successful with the plant?
3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Yeah.
Okay, I got it.
All right.
I would say September. September's a good time to get a dog.
September.
Downtime, you know,
Okay, yeah.
After the games,
after the
Yeah.
games.
when you
settling
podium
in.
at the games, it's like your congratulations.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Put the prize money towards that.
There you go.
Well, thank you again, Emily. You were so much fun. So glad we
Yeah.
got to do this.
Yeah, me
Best of luck
too.
at semis.